Welcome to the second episode of DIY or Should I Buy, where I show you guys whether or not it's worth it to do a DIY or if you should just buy the product instead. On today's episode, we're going to be doing the DIY plant pot holder. That's a mouthful, but it's super trendy. Everyone loves it. It goes in almost any decor, and I'm here to show you whether or not it's worth it or if you should just buy the product instead. Stay tuned. Alright guys, we're going to start by cutting 4 equal length pieces of yarn. Now the yarn I'm using is super stretchy, so I'm pulling it out as I cut. But if you're using traditional macrame, you'll not have the same issue. I wanted my pot to hang about 2 feet from the ceiling, so I measured 24 inches and then added the width of the pot to hang. I then doubled that length and then added about 24 more inches just for knots and extra length. I always recommend cutting more because you can always cut off the excess length at the end. Once you measure this once, you can use your first piece as a reference for the last 3. Once you have all 4 pieces of yarn cut, make sure they're lined up end to end and then find the middle of the pieces and tie a big knot. I chose to add a golden hoop, but it's totally up to you. I just wanted some little extra flair, but you can just tie a regular knot at the end as well. Now, please ignore the classy wine bottle setup I have made and instead focus on the quality craft content. For the next step, we're going to take the yarn pieces next to each other and tie a knot. I tied my first knot about halfway down to how low I wanted it to hang. This ended up being about 1 foot. To make knot tying easier, make a loose knot in the general position you want and then tighten it after you check its location. This will save you from trying to untie knots later. And this 100% is not foreshadowing what I had to do. Once you have your first row of knots done, you're now going to take 2 adjacent knots and then take the 2 individual strings next to each other from the separate knots and tie another knot. That's a lot of knots. But it makes sense, I promise. You do this all the way around and just make sure that you're using adjacent strings. That way it's not all tangled once you're done. Finally, tie one big knot using all the strings about 4 to 5 inches down from your last row of knots. And then that's it. Alright guys, that's all I have for the DIY portion of today's video. So now we're going to decide, should I buy or DIY? I always do this, DIY or should I buy? So we're going to rank it on the same 2 criteria as we did last week, which was time and money. Time-wise, this only took an hour. It was super straightforward, really easy. I mean, I really did a basic macrame pot holder, so I didn't do anything fancy. So time, it was pretty much no commitment. Again, something you could do with your kids or with your friends on a girls' night in, or men, not discriminating, but it was really easy and simple to do. Money-wise, I spent around $4 to $7 on this project, and some of that did include the pot that I put in it. When you're shopping for these online, they generally just sell the macrame hanger. It's not really anything that comes inside of it. You kind of have to find your own pots and plants to put inside of it. But even negating that fact, everything was pretty comparable. So at the end of this DIY, I would suggest if you're doing something intricate, something that you have to learn like new braids and new knot tying skills with, or you're adding beads, I would suggest buying it because the prices weren't that far off that it would be worth it for me at least to learn all these new skills to make the pot hanger. I'd rather just buy it because it's a one-time product for me and then have something really unique and interesting. Now if you want the simple macrame or you know what you're doing, it's also not a bad idea to DIY it because you get tons of yarn left over, and now I have a ton of yarn that I can repurpose in future DIYs. So it's pretty much a win-win here, but at the end of the day, I don't want to cop out and say both. So we're gonna say bye! Yeah! She hates this, but she loves me. There's a lawn mower right there. Shh. Are you done? Alright guys, that's all I have. There he is again, just mowing the lawn. How rude. My name's Julie Nicole and I'm here for all your thrifting and DIY needs. Hi. You always come in for the intro.